Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love to the author and me. On to the show. Name, Jotsu Ilan. Position, Ordinary Resident, Hanga City. Level 1. Age, 39 years old. Talent, Breeding Specialization, Primary, so Postpartum Care, Primary. Name, Zhang Tainyo. Position, Ordinary Resident, Hanga City. Level 3. Age, 32 years old. Talent, Julie, Primary, Bitter Tolerance, Primary. Name, Wang Xishi. Position, Ordinary Resident, Hanga City. Level 2. Age, 30 years old. Talent, Big Stomach King, Intermediate. Lin You. What kind of weird stuff is going on here? Looking at the new recruiting information on the Tavern interface, Lin You was stunned. He found that there were indeed many talents in his territory. There is even a person who has raised the talent of Big Stomach King to the intermediate level, which is outrageous. However, thanks to this Tavern recruiting function, he was able to understand the talents of the subjects more clearly. It will also be much more convenient when looking for relevant talents in the future. It's just that the Third Order Tavern can only show the talents of the people below the Third Order, and he can't see those above the Third Order for the time being. It seems that I need to get some more or to raise the Tavern to the 7th level. After thinking about it, he continued to browse on the talent recruitment interface. Okay? Suddenly, a message different from others appeared in front of him. Name, Huang Mian. Position, Ordinary Resident, Hanga City. Level 1. Age, 16 years old. Talent, Herbal Mastery, Elementary. Pharmaceutical Specialization, Elementary, Herbal Affinity, Top. Among the territorial people who are generally primary talents, there is a top-level talent territorial people, and he also has 3 talents. At once, Lin Yu's eyes were attracted. Click on that top-level skill, and a piece of detailed information pops up. Affinity of Herbs, Top increases the understanding of pharmacology by 50%, reduces consumption by 10% when making potions, and has a chance of appearing mutated potions, making potions gain additional effects. Great skill. It happened that his pharmacy lacked a powerful pharmacist. Although this territorial level is still low, it has infinite potential. As long as the level is raised, he will definitely become a powerful pharmacist in his domain in the future. Without thinking much, he immediately closed the interface and called Su Zhong over. And this time, outside the newly built tavern in Hanga City. A pair of siblings who had just arrived in Hanga City stood there, looking at the recruitment information on the notice board with a little hesitation. Sister, do you think the pharmacy will want me? The younger brother was wearing a tattered cloth with a sack on his back, which was filled with all kinds of herbs collected from the road, and looked crumpled. But if you look closely, you will find that these herbs are the best of their kind, and almost all of them are superior in medicinal properties. Hearing his question, my sister smiled bitterly. I don't know either, we've run out of entanglements. I'll go and find out where there are female workers later. I'll find a place where I can eat food first. Oh. The younger brother nodded silently, but his eyes were fixed on the recruitment notice of the pharmacy, and he refused to move away. The two of them, like the refugees, were both from poor families and came from nearby villages to make a living. The younger brother is actually very clear that he came out of the village like him and only learned some pharmacology from his elders, and there is no comparison with those powerful pharmacists. Seeing that the people who signed up to work in the pharmacy beside them all had big shoulders and round waists, and they were dressed in luxurious clothes. After all, he still reluctantly retracted his gaze, ready to find a job with his sister to make a living. Look! Someone is coming! Suddenly, an exclamation sounded in the crowd. A group of men and horses appeared in the distance and hurried towards this side, causing a commotion among the people. I saw that the team was well dressed. Everyone wore a set of silver armor and a large sword on the waist, exuding a chilling air. On their armor, there is also the exclusive green leaf logo of Hanga City, which shines under the sunlight and is extremely eye-catching. It's the patrol guard of Hanga City. It seems that manager Su is leading the team. Su Guancher? Isn't that the second-in-command in Hanga City? Why is he here? I heard that he is a big man in the city who is responsible for the transfer of management personnel, and he is highly valued by the Lord. Did something happen? The people were talking a lot, and they were all frightened by this grand battle. One by one, they moved out of the way, for fear of colliding with Su Zhong and the team behind him. Where have the two brothers and sisters seen such a big man? Frightened, he immediately followed the crowd and hid aside, not daring to get close. Unexpectedly, the big man seemed to be locked on their side. After listening to the guard's whispers, he led the team to surround them. But they and the people on the side were frightened to death, thinking they had done something. Who is Huang Mian? Su Zhong sat on the back of a horse and glanced around at the people below. The hearts of the people he swept away jumped, and they all avoided their eyes. Only the sister and brother had white lips and weak feet, panicking to the extreme. Because of his younger brother's name, he is called Huang Mian. The elder sister didn't dare to think too much, and immediately pulled the younger brother behind her to protect her. That obvious move immediately attracted Su Zhong's eyes, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. No way, this little guy is too young, he looks like he's only in his teens. But he didn't forget what the Lord told him just now. One turned over and jumped off the horse's back, and brought a few imposing guards to the two brothers. When the others saw this, they fled in shock, exposing the siblings at once, causing them to tremble. Pfft! My sister's feet softened and she fell to her knees. Sir, my brother is still young, please let him go. If you want to arrest me, just arrest me. I'm willing to take the blame for my brother. While pleading for mercy, while crying pear flowers with rain. She really couldn't understand why she and her younger brother suddenly committed an accident when they just arrived here, and attracted such a big man. If he is caught, he will lose his life. I didn't say I wanted to arrest you. Su Zhong's helpless voice sounded. The sister's movement stopped, and she raised her head blankly. Then, in the eyes of everyone's puzzled eyes, Su Zhong said slowly, "The Lord ordered me to come here to find a person named Huang Mian and invite him to be the pharmacist of our Huangsheqing pharmacy. That person should be you. Brother, right?" As he said that, he also glanced at the younger brother behind his sister. Invite my brother?" My sister was stunned for a moment, her dirty face was full of confusion. The others on the side were also stunned. They didn't expect that Su Zhong would personally invite this young man who looked like he was from the countryside. Is there something special about him? But no matter how they looked at it, he was just a young boy who didn't know much about the world, and he was even more puzzled. However, Su Zhong didn't give them a chance to think too much, and said directly to the siblings, "How is it? Are you interested in working in our pharmacy? Lord really wants me to be a pharmacist in a pharmacy?" At this time, the younger brother behind the elder sister finally couldn't help but ask. He still can't believe it. "Your name is Huang Mian, 16 years old, right?" Su Zhong asked rhetorically. "It's me." Huang Mian nodded. "That's right, if the two of you don't mind, just come with me. I'll take you to wash up first, eat something to settle down, and then talk about the pharmacy." Su Zhong is a shrewd person. He saw the difficulties of the two brothers at a glance, and immediately threw an olive branch. When the siblings heard the words, their eyes lit up, and they immediately answered like a chicken pecking rice, "Okay, let's go." That's all. Under the eye of the guards, the two left with Su Zhong. The people who stayed were talking a lot, and their faces were full of surprises and doubts. It didn't take long for Lin You in the territory to receive a reminder of the increase in the staff of the pharmacy. He opened it and saw that Huang Mian had indeed become a member of the pharmacy. Su Zhong's efficiency is quite fast. Lin You smiled slightly. After thinking about it for a while, he clicked a few times on the interface, and delegated the authority to recruit talents in the tavern to Su Zhong, and let him be responsible for the deployment of personnel. For a long time, the personnel transfer of Hanga City has been in charge of Su Zhong, and Lin You is also relieved to leave it to him. When the level of the tavern is upgraded in the future, more high-level talents are recruited, and the territory can develop faster. Lord, I have something to report. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the territory. It was Su Zhong's voice. Should have come to report the situation at the pharmacy. Lin You closed the interface and walked out directly. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 5 days have passed. Just when Lin You was working on developing his territory, a message finally broke the calm of the chat channel. Brothers. I just took a look, the monster turmoil has been resolved, and I can go to the secret sanctuary. Solved? Lin You, who was watering the vegetable garden in the territory, stopped his movements and clicked on the channel to check it out. As predicted. A lot of the above are talking about this. Some lords even dared to take a look at it just now, and ran back excitedly after a while. Really solved. The crack leading to the main plane has been sealed. I just checked it out, and I heard from them that there seemed to be 5 10th order monsters, 2 of them were killed, and the remaining 3 all fled back to the main plane. Fuck. 5 10th order monsters. This is too exaggerated. Fortunately, I haven't been there for a few days. Never mind, this monster riot is over, and you can go to the secret realm again. Brothers, when the secret realm starts, someone who lacks output will call me, and the output of my demon-type units will explode. Rush. The end of the monster riot represents the reset of the ticket cost of the secret realm, and you can also use various resources and treasures. Why novel? This is what the lords are most concerned about. But Lin You was different. His focus was on the 10th order monsters. Killing 2 tier 10s, doesn't that mean that there are more materials for making tier 1 equipment? If he can get some. It is impossible to say that you can ask McGun to build a 10th order armor for himself, which greatly enhances his survivability. After all, the 10th order material he brought back was nominally the stuff of the Shifeng Pavilion, and he just made it for him. It is not easy to obtain 10th order materials. Early in the morning, Lin You left the territory and rushed to the dwarf tribe. According to the previous agreement, it would take 5 days to build a piece of tier 10 equipment. It is now the 6th morning, and I think it should have been built. When Lin You came to the forging furnace deep in the dwarf cave with anticipation, just happened to see Magna sitting next to the anvil, wiping the hammer of war in his hand. On the side there is also a circular arc mirror like a breastplate. You came? McGun looked up at Lin You. It's right next to it, you can see it for yourself. If you're not satisfied, I can revise it for you. Can it be modified again? Lin You tiptoed, full of anticipation, came to the chest protector, and picked it up directly. Getting started is heavy. Probably because it was made of rock-type monster inner armor, it looked a bit thicker than ordinary armor. Faintly, there is also a khaki light circulating around the armor. Lin You couldn't wait to check its information. Equipment name, Mysterious Bull Hard Armor. Equipment level, 10th order. Characteristic 1, activating the breastplate can generate a shield condensed by the power of rules around the body, reducing damage received by 25% for 5 seconds. Characteristic 2, automatically offset 10% of the damage. When receiving a fatal blow, the Black Bull's hard armor will be broken, instead of the attack. It is invalid for wearers above 10th order. Universal features, for each piece of Godhead shard the user has, the effect of the equipment is increased by 10%. Extra, unenchanted. Introduction, it is made of Qingxian Xuanyo's strongest defense heartbone. It is blessed by the power of rules and has a strong defense. Okay? Godhead fragments? Lin You was stunned. This 10th order equipment will actually be affected by Godhead fragments. And every time you add a piece of Godhead, the strength of the equipment will increase by 10%. He finally understood now why they all said that the supply of 10th order equipment was in short supply. The effect is simply outrageous. The basic effect of the 10th order equipment alone is already extremely powerful, and the blessing of the Godhead fragments can even reach a very exaggerated level. For example, if you have 10 Godhead fragments, the damage offset of this equipment will be doubled to 50%, directly reduced by half. This is a bit like a cultivator using his own spiritual power to urge the magic weapon. The stronger the injected power, the stronger the effect of the magic weapon. It's just that they were replaced by the power of rules. The more fragments of Godhead, the stronger the power of rules. Same reason. How is it? Are you satisfied with this equipment? At this moment, McGann's voice sounded. Satisfaction is satisfaction, but when you made me nibble soft armor before, why didn't you see you helped me create such an awesome attribute? Lin, you couldn't help but complain. Neutralize a fatal damage. This is definitely one of the most perverted effects of all defense equipment, and I am afraid that it will be scrambled by countless people. It was you who told me to defend the whole stack, so I had to do it. McGuinn shrugged, and yours is tier 8 equipment, how can you compare it to tier 10? This thing is, it took me a lot of effort, you have to give me another 10,000 caddies of food. Okay, 10,000 is 10,000, and I will send it to you when the next batch of grain is planted. This time, Lin You didn't argue with McGann again. Because he is very clear, it is not easy to create 10th order equipment, and it's a piece of equipment with such a perverted attribute. If you take it and sell it, no amount of food can be exchanged for it. Why would you waste time? After talking to McGann a few words, he left the dwarf tribe in a hurry and rode the demon king dragon back to the territory. Simply prepare, immediately pass through the gate of the secret realm, and go to the sacred realm of the secret realm. Swish. Light flashed. Lin You appeared on the platform. As soon as he stood still, he was frightened by the sight in front of him. Looking around, it turned out to be dilapidated floating islands and large pieces of debris floating in the air. Even the central city below was destroyed, and some were directly razed to the ground, and many shops were implicated. This monster riot is really terrifying. Fortunately, the block where Shifeng Pavilion was located was fine. After checking the surrounding situation, Lin You rode the Demon King Dragon and flew off the platform, heading towards Shifeng Pavilion. And this time, inside the Shifeng Pavilion, Lu Zhenxing stood in front of two young juniors who had just been transferred from the family to experience, with a stern expression. I'm going to take someone out now, you guys give me a good look at the store, there must be no sloppiness, you know? Understood, Third Master. Clear. The two young men responded quickly, with a trace of fear in their eyes. It's good to understand, then I'll go first. Lu Zhenxing didn't say much, turned around and left, and hurried to the floating archipelago, as if he was in a hurry to do something. And what he didn't know was, as soon as he left on the front foot, Lin You arrived on the back foot. In a whistling wind, Lin You fell directly to the open space in front of the Shifeng store, and then jumped into the store. Manager Lu, I'm here. He shouted in the direction of the inner hall, but there was no response. After a while, two young people came out of it. What's the matter with the shopkeeper? He just went out. You are? Lin You looked at the person suspiciously. We are in charge of looking after this store, you can tell us anything. The two did not forget Lu Zhenxing's reprimand, so they were polite to Lin You, but they didn't take it seriously. How can they be seen casually by the third master of the Lu family? And no matter what they think, Lin You is just an ordinary guest. It was unfortunate that when Lu Zhenxing just went out, he also called away a few guys who knew Lin You. Lin You glanced around the shops, and it seemed that Lu Zhenxing was indeed gone. I had to ask, when will he be back? About half an hour. Well, I'll wait for him here. Lin You didn't say anything to the two of them, and went straight into the store to hang out. It seemed that he entered his own house and strolled in the courtyard, which immediately made the two of them suspicious. Does he really know the third master? Said the relatively plainly dressed young man in a low voice. Unlikely, right? Anyway, it's better to be polite. Didn't father tell us to have some eyesight under the hands of the third master? What if he really knew the third master? That's true. These two people are just sidelines of the Liu family. Although he was a little arrogant at the beginning, he would not be like those direct descendants, with his chin raised to the sky. After all, if they want to get ahead in the family and climb to the top, they must seize every opportunity. Even if it's just a trace, don't let it go. After thinking about it, the two looked at each other, brought seats and tea to the side, and came to Lin You again. Guest, are you tired of standing and waiting? Why don't you sit down and have a cup of tea? Our shopkeeper should be back soon. Oh, thank you. Lin You glanced at them in surprise. Seeing their smiling faces, they couldn't help asking, are you from the same family as shopkeeper Liu? Yes, we just came over from the family to practice today. The older young man nodded and said, I don't know what the guests have to do with our shopkeeper. It's just a matter of cooperation. By the way, what did you do in the family before? Anyway, there was still some time, so Lin You chatted with the two of them in the shop, and got to know the situation of the Liu family by the way. The two young men didn't show any more impatience, and told him some unimportant things. Until about 20 minutes passed. Finally, there was a clutter of footsteps outside the door. Lu Zhenxing walked in from the outside with a few guys carrying a huge fong. The third master is back. The two Liu family juniors felt tight in their hearts and immediately greeted them. Oh, you guys came just in time, come and help move things, this time I got a good baby. Lu Zhenxing greeted the two of them and walked into the store excitedly, and saw Lin You sitting in the store at a glance, and his footsteps stopped. Master Lin? Why are you here? His voice did not make any disguise, and it entered the ears of the two juniors at once, causing their expressions to change immediately. Especially when they heard what he called Lin You, they were even more shocked. I'm so sorry, I just went out for something, Mr. Lin waited for a long time. Lu Zhenxing said apologetically. It's okay, it's just a while. Lin You got up from the seat. That's good, I was in a hurry to go out just now, and I forgot to tell the people below. They didn't do anything rude to you, right? Did you say the two of them? Lin You glanced at the two juniors of the Liu family who had just walked in from the outside www.lightnovel.com and smiled. Fortunately, I think they are pretty good. I'm afraid I will stand. I was tired, so I brought chairs and tea here on purpose. Oh? Lu Zhenxing also looked at the two juniors with admiration in his eyes. After thinking about it for a while, he said to the two of them, go to the accounting room first and learn more about bookkeeping. Yes. Let's go. The two juniors were overjoyed and responded quickly. Store accounting is the core of the family business, and generally only the direct descendants who perform well have the opportunity to contact them. Unexpectedly, just because of a compliment from the other party, they would get such a huge opportunity. Make them excited and happy at the same time. Fortunately, they stopped their horses just now and did not leave any bad impression on Lin You. How dare you stay longer? After silently remembering Lin Yu's appearance, he hurriedly left the store and went to the cashier to study bookkeeping. It wasn't until they walked away that Lin You continued to ask, Manager Liu just went out to buy materials? Yeah, you should have seen the fangs just now, the ivory of the 10th order terror elephant that was killed yesterday. I bought it back at a high price. Because it was too big to fit in the storage space, I could only get someone to carry it with you. 10th order material? Lin You was shocked. What? Young Master Lin is interested? Seeing the light in Lin Yu's eyes, Lu Zhenxing asked. I'm really interested, but I can't afford it. Lin You shrugged. It's not necessary to buy it. As long as young Master Lin can successfully help us create 10th order equipment this time, I can still give you a copy of the materials. Are you serious? Lin Yu's eyes were fixed. Of course it's true. Compared with the 10th order equipment, what is a piece of material? By the way, why did young Master Lin come here? Usually, it takes at least 10 days to create a piece of Tier 1 equipment. That's not even counting the time to prepare for the break. Therefore, in Lu Zhenxing's opinion, Lin You should not have come to the store for equipment, but his face seemed calm. Just this calm. But when he saw a heart-protecting breastplate in Lin Yu's hand, he froze completely. Immediately after, his eyes suddenly widened. This is... Lu Zhenxing came to Lin Yu with a few steps, looked at the equipment, looked at Lin Yu again, and couldn't believe it. Seeing his appearance, Lin Yu smiled. "Manager Lu, what you said just now counts. I will help you build 10th order equipment, and you can send me a 10th order material." "This is really 10th order equipment." Lu Zhenxing swallowed, not listening to Lin Yu's ridicule. His eyes seemed to be glued to the piece of equipment. Then he suddenly reacted, looked around quickly, and hurriedly said, "Young Master Lin, let's talk inside." "Okay." Lin Yu responded and entered the inner hall with him. When the two came to the reception hall, when Lu Zhenxing took the equipment from Lin Yu, his face was no longer calm, and his whole person became excited. 10th order. It's really 10th order equipment. He didn't expect that Lin Yu would successfully create 10th order equipment so quickly and bring it over. While whispering, he looked up and down at the equipment, his hands trembling. The reason why their Shifeng pavilion was crushed by the Wanbeilu everywhere, apart from the fact that the power behind them was a little weaker, the biggest reason was that there was no top treasure that could attract the strong, just like the 10th order equipment in his hands. Although he was mentally prepared, when he saw this piece of equipment, his heart couldn't stop trembling wildly. And this piece of equipment is so well crafted that it actually has 3 effects. You must know that ordinary 10th order equipment is not a universal feature that must be produced, and generally only has 2 effects. This one has 3. Is this the amazing talent of the dwarfs in forging? Lu Zhenxing dared to guarantee that as soon as this piece of equipment appeared, it would inevitably lead to competition from dozens of powerhouses. At that time, he will take this opportunity to connect with those strong people, and other forces will not dare to act rashly, and they will also be able to publicize their reputation for Shifeng Pavilion. Rice Ball Exploration Book. It's like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. After all, a shop that can provide 10th order equipment is still very deterrent. Because no one knows how many 10th order powerhouses will be waiting for equipment behind this. Once you dare to do it, it is equivalent to the high-end equipment of those 10th order powerhouses. Lu Zhenxing was extremely happy. Choosing to trust Lin Yu was probably the wisest decision he had ever made in his life. He didn't dare to think too much, and bowed his hands to Lin Yu. "Many thanks to Mr. Lin for your help. In the future, Mr. Lin will be the most honored guest of my Lu family. As long as Mr. Lin asks for anything, our Lu family will definitely help." "You're welcome, we just get what we need." Lin Yu smiled slightly. He didn't want to expose himself anyway. With the Lu family and Shifeng in front of him, he could just sit and collect money without fear of being targeted by others. Correct. At this moment, Lu Zhenxing suddenly thought of something. "I see that young Master Lin liked that 10th grade ivory very much just now. Otherwise, I will be the master and give him to young Master." "You really want to give it to me?" Lin Yu's eyes lit up. "It's just a mere 10th order material, and the value is only 10 million. I also hope that young Master Lin will not dislike this gift," Lu Zhenxing said with a smile. He knew very well that this amount of money was nothing compared to having a good relationship with Lin Yu. "As long as you can get close to the big tree, Lin Yu, how much money do you want to make?" The most important thing is that he saw the opportunity for the rise of the Lu family from this. Only a fool would dig so at such a time, and it would be too late to stuff a smarter gift. And just like what he said before it is made into equipment, materials are still materials after all, and their value is far from comparable to that of finished equipment, because many people have no way to build even if they have the materials. After all, there are not many tier 10 blacksmiths on this continent, and half of them are among the dwarves who rarely interact with humans. Since the shopkeeper said so, then I'm welcome. Lin, you can naturally guess Lu Zhenxing's thoughts. Don't give up on this kind of good things delivered to your door. It just so happens that you can also create a piece of self-defense equipment for yourself to maximize the effect of his godhead fragments. Subsequently, the two put away their equipment and began to discuss the next thing in the living room. For example, the handling of this equipment, and various preparations. My idea is to hold a large-scale auction in the sanctuary center in 3 days, and use this equipment as the final item. At that time I will also invite the 10th order ancestor of our Lu family to sit in the town to ensure safety. Lu Zhenxing expressed his thoughts. 10th order ancestor? Lin You was secretly surprised. Unexpectedly, behind the Lu family, there is actually a 10th order town. No wonder they can open a shop in such a central place, and they still have 2 brushes. After thinking about it for a while, he said, I think it's okay, but I'm not familiar with this kind of thing, so how about I leave it to you all to handle it? Then I would like to thank young Master Lin for your trust. Since this is the case, then I will also make a statement on behalf of the Lu family. Lu Zhenxing is still very grateful for Lin Yu's delegating power. After bowing his head and pondering for a while, he said, according to the usual price, a piece of 10th order equipment can generally be sold for more than 100 million yuan, and the stronger the effect, the higher the price. Such as this equipment with extremely strong life-saving ability, it is even more in short supply. I'll make the decision in advance and pay you a deposit of 50 million in advance. When the equipment is sold, I will deduct the cost and make up for it according to the share. What does Mr. Lin think? 50 million. Lin Yu took a deep breath. He sold a territorial A-level secret treasure and only made 5 million. The things that these 10th order powerhouses use are really different. One is worth 10 treasures. As long as there are 50 million, he can make as many symbiotic moss as he wants, and he doesn't have to worry about money anymore. Even the development of Hanga City can invest a lot of money to greatly speed up the progress. Okay, let's do that. Lin Youqiang suppressed the throbbing in his heart and nodded in response. Then he continued to discuss the next thing with Lu Zhenxing. Until halfway through. He only came down to the outside of the store after Lu Zhenxing's farewell, and there was 50 million more magic energy in his bag. This was the first time for him to get so much magic energy at once, and he couldn't help but feel a little excited. After saying goodbye to Lu Zhenxing, he left in a hurry with the magic energy, rushed back to the territory, and disappeared on the crowded streets in no time. As for Lu Zhenxing, on the other hand, he just got the 10th tier equipment, got on the carriage, and hurried back to Lu's house. As soon as he entered the mansion gate, he rushed all the way to the outside of a secluded courtyard in the deepest part of the Lu family. Old ancestor, I have something to ask for. Lu Zhenxing respectfully shouted towards the courtyard. After a while, a majestic voice came from inside. Didn't I say, it's not a matter of family survival, don't disturb my cleaning? As soon as the voice fell, a monstrous might erupted towards Lu Zhenxing to oppress him. Lu Zhenxing was sweating profusely, gritted his teeth to support. Ancestor, I came across a piece of tier 10 equipment today, and it will be auctioned in 3 days. I want to ask my ancestor to come out and help me check it out. What did you say? 10th order equipment? Crunch. The courtyard door opened, and a spirited white-haired old man walked out from behind the door, staring at Lu Zhenxing with a burning gaze. This person is the ancestor of the Lu family. At the same time, he is also a genuine 10th order powerhouse. Under his gaze, Lu Zhenxing felt that his body weighed more than 10,000 caddies and could not move. Yes, it is the 10th order equipment, and it is also made by the Xuanyo heart-protecting bone, an extremely rare life-saving magic weapon. Without hesitation, the space in front of him was distorted, and the black bull heart armor that he had just obtained from Lin You appeared in his hands. This is... The ancestor of the Lu family's eyes narrowed, and he directly stretched out his hand, and the equipment flew into his hands. Sure enough, it's a 10th order equipment. And it perfectly exerts the effect of the Xuanyo's heart-protecting bone. When did such a powerful blacksmith appear in our sanctuary? The patriarch of the Lu family changed from the calmness just now, showing slight surprise. Returning to the ancestors, it was forged by a dwarf blacksmith, beside a young lord. dwarf blacksmith? So it is. The ancestor looked suddenly. Okay, let me put this piece of equipment here first. On the day of the auction, I will personally sit in the town. Also, you have done a good job this time, and you have brought such an opportunity to the family. The lord you mentioned is probably the younger generation of a big power. You must treat it well in the future, and you must not neglect it, understand? Clear. Lu Zhenxing was very excited. It was the first time he had received such praise from his ancestors. At the same time, he also breathed a sigh of relief. With the old ancestor sitting in the town in person, this time there is finally no need to worry about any more accidents. Next, we just need to publicize and let everyone know that they will have 10th order equipment for auction. By the time. This is the moment when their Lu family really rises. Thinking of the depths, Lu Zhenxing's eyes became more and more cold. After saying goodbye to the old ancestor, he left in a hurry. The news spread faster than expected. In just half a morning, the news that Shifeng Pavilion will auction the 10th order equipment www.lightnovel.com has spread throughout the entire sanctuary center. Then, like a hurricane, it spread around the pilgrimage area. Walking on the road, people can be heard everywhere talking about this matter, exclaiming constantly. After all, 10th order equipment is the top-level equipment for many people. Even if there is no godhead for the time being, and the power of the equipment cannot be exerted, it is a rare treasure. There were even many people who came here especially to buy tickets for the auction in advance, directly crowding the Shifeng Pavilion. Change the previous decadent atmosphere. In private, many 10th order lords and practitioners approached Lu Zhenxing to inquire about equipment. Let Lu Zhenxing jump to become a celebrity in the center of the entire sanctuary, and he is in the limelight for a while, almost overshadowing the reputation of Wanbeilu. Check it out for me. Be sure to find out how their Lu family got the 10th order equipment. Inside Wanbao building. A middle-aged man sitting in the first place roared again and again, his expression extremely gloomy. Even their Wanbeilu cost a lot of resources, so they asked a 10th order blacksmith to help them create a piece of equipment. Seeing that the treasure industry in the entire sanctuary center was about to be completely controlled by them, a piece of 10th order equipment suddenly appeared in the Shifeng Pavilion, so how could he be calm? And even more unbelievable. The news that came back even said that the equipment of Shifeng Pavilion was made by the dwarfs themselves. Hining of his Lu family, he even asked a dwarf blacksmith to help create equipment. Check. Be sure to check it out. The man roared furiously, his voice constantly echoing in the conference room. The people below are also solemn and extremely ugly. But they don't know. This 10th order equipment should actually belong to their Wanbeilu. Lin, you didn't know what was going on in the sanctuary of the secret realm. Because at this time, he had already returned to the territory with a huge sum of 50 million. When you are rich, you naturally become arrogant. As soon as he returned to the territory, he went directly under the world tree and replaced the unwanted troops with deceptive vines. In terms of quantity, let's count it as 130 to 130. After some consideration, Lin You left 130 proliferating arms with the highest experience as the main force. Going to make 130 symbiotic mosses to match them. As for the 15 mosses that were already in existence before, they were used to match the special arms of the royal family and the demon king dragon that did not have the ability to multiply. That is a total of 275 arms positions. The remaining 25 positions are the auxiliary units for planting, and there are a few clover units that are left on purpose, and the number is just enough. Thus, after the proliferation of his arms, the number can still reach more than 500, and the body has moss symbiosis, and its strength is not weak. Thinking of this, Lin You sat directly on the ground and began to mutate the willow in front of him. The mutation of the 7th order troops needs to consume 2,500 mana. Do you want to continue? Continue. Please choose to keep skills and attributes. Retain the strange changes, the attributes are random. Swish. Light flashed. The vine in front of him began to change, eventually turning into an ancient tree. Continue to mutate. That's all. With the sound of one after another falling, the plant is also constantly changing. Sometimes it becomes a tall tree, sometimes a twisted vine. Basically, every once in a while, you can successfully mutate a symbiotic moss, and then continue to mutate the next willow tree. Congratulations, the skill Strange Distortion has mutated and changed to Distortion. Finally, when Lin You made the 50th moss, a different reminder suddenly sounded. He quickly stopped the movement in his hand and clicked on the information of the troops in front of him to check. Distortion, it can copy the attributes of any troops and monsters. The target level cannot exceed its own level. When attacked by the copied target, all damage will be returned. Okay? Lock the anti-damage effect? This is quite interesting, and sometimes it can be used to sway other lords. Lin You left this skill directly and continued to mutate it until it turned into symbiotic moss. 130 symbiotic moss, it took him a whole noon to finally complete the mutation. Then, under Lin Yu's order, they all symbiotically coexisted on other combat plants, so that their attributes all skyrocketed, reaching the 8th order level, which can be said to be a qualitative leap. In this way, the bodies of these proliferating arms finally have the guarantee of survival. Looking at the magic energy, there are only more than 3 million left. Well, I've become a poor ghost again. Lin You smiled bitterly. I thought 50 million was a lot, but it turned out to be such a waste. But he felt very happy. With so much magic power, if he only relies on hunting monsters to clear the secret realm, he still doesn't know that he will have to work hard until the year of the monkey and the horse and the moon before he can create this moss army. After all, it's not a loss. Just put 2 million in Hanga City as expansion funds, and leave 1 million as a ticket to the secret realm. It's time to take a look inside the main plane of monsters. In the murmur, Lin You slowly got up. However, he did not immediately go to the sanctuary of the secret realm, but rushed to the dwarf tribe and handed over the 10th order materials he had just obtained to McGun, and asked him to help make it into equipment. Your material, it will take some time to create it. McGun took the materials and said directly. Wait a while. Why? Lin You looked puzzled. Unexpectedly, McGuinn rolled his eyes. Do you really think it's so easy to build 10th order equipment? Building equipment above the 10th rank is a very labor-intensive thing. It is not bad to be able to build one in a month. This is because I have the blessing of the god of war hammer. If you change it to a forge from your human race, you may not be able to make it in 2 months. Build one. So tough? Lin You was shocked. It was the first time he knew about such a thing, but on second thought it was. If 10th order equipment can be made casually, it is not 10th order equipment. Thinking of this, he said, well, I'm not in a hurry anyway. I'll throw the materials here. You can help me build it when you have time. Tell me directly if you need anything. Are you sure? McGann raised his brows, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Then I want the soju brewed in your city. The fire brought me a jar yesterday, and it's not bad. Okay, isn't it just soju? I'll ask someone to bring it to you later. Lin You couldn't help laughing. After all, you are also the king of the dwarf tribe, and you still care about other people's soju, and you are not afraid of jokes. Certainly. He was just thinking about it. After all, having been with McGann for so long, he has long been accustomed to this guy's temperament, and he is too lazy to say anything. But he was counting on the dwarves to make money. By the way, the 10th order equipment can't be made. I have some clansmen who can help me build the equipment below the 10th order. You can bring some materials of the 8th and 9th orders. McGann added. Okay, I'm going out to hunt some monsters these days, and I'll bring them back to you. Can. Then I'll go first. After that, Lin You left the dwarf tribe and rushed back to the territory. Simply prepare and walk directly into the door of the secret realm. The light flashed, and he came to the secret sanctuary again. After half a day of refurbishment. At this time, the floating archipelago has basically returned to its original appearance and is operating again. Even the huge portal above the central island has been erected again, sealing the crack leading to the monster plane. Around the portal, there are many lords and practitioners coming and going, constantly entering the portal. Lin You came to the central island in anticipation. Summon Lingxi to your side, and walk to the crack with those lords. I heard that there are many lords of the original Sha world and the true spirit world near the entrance of the crack. We have to be careful in the future. Indeed, we are mainly going to hunt down the leader monsters this time. It is best not to run into them. Che, what if we meet? Are you afraid they won't make it? Anyway, be careful. The voices of several lords on the side of the discussion, word for word, entered Lin Yu's ears. Lin You listened silently, his eyes gradually becoming surprised. Sure enough, as those people said before, it is possible to meet people from other realms in the monster plane. And because the continents are connected and the space channels are similar, there is a high probability that they will encounter the mortal enemies of the primordial realm, the primordial demon realm and the true spirit realm. The danger in it is much higher than the secret realm. But there is no way. If you want to collect enough sources, you still need to hunt down the leader monster in the main plane of monsters. Otherwise, you can only kill one by one in the secret realm, and you have to kill until the year of the monkey and the horse month to level up. Thinking of this, Lin You followed the lords through the huge crack on the central island. Immediately after, a strong sense of weightlessness enveloped him, as if his entire body was suspended in the air, with a top-heavy feeling. I don't know how long it took. When Lin You stood still again, he found himself in a huge semicircular light curtain, composed of a magic circle. I saw that in the light curtain, a vast ancient tree towering into the clouds rose from the ground, connecting the ground and the top of the light curtain. The lush branches and leaves spread out, almost holding up the entire sky, hundreds of times bigger than his world tree. Under the old tree, the roots are intertwined and hidden in the ground. The lords and practitioners came and went, either on their way or talking, and it was very lively. On the open space in the distance, there are many teams gathered, shouting constantly, and it seems that they are calling for teammates to go out. Under the entire ancient tree, it seems to form a huge entrance base. Look out of the light curtain. What came into view was a chaotic sky. The sun and the moon appeared at the same time, glowing a strange red. From time to time, a few exaggeratedly large monsters can be seen passing through the sky and flying straight into the distance, as if they didn't find them here. Lin You was full of surprise, and slowly walked under the ancient tree. Occasionally, a few figures covered in blood can be seen passing through the light curtain and entering from the outside. Just at this moment, a team of cultivators from the sanctuary suddenly came over. An old leader led the way and explained loudly to the disciples behind him. You have to remember that this monster's main plane is countless times larger than our primitive continent, and the deeper it goes, the stronger the monster's strength will be, so definitely don't go too deep, just practice at the outermost edge, do you understand? Clear. The disciples responded loudly, they are the sects in the most central area of the mainland. Even the weakest disciple has a 7th order strength. Some of them even reached the 8th order level, so Lin You couldn't help but take a second glance. Immediately afterwards, I heard one of the disciples ask, Elder, I heard people say that this monster plane is the place where the devil fell. Is this true? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of the disciples suddenly lit up, and all of them showed curiosity. Even Lin You on one side was no exception, and listened to him on the other side. He only heard the mentor cough lightly and said, there are indeed similar rumors, but there is no way to verify it, because the monster in the center of the main plane of monsters is too powerful, even the emperor can't go deep, so it's just a rumor. Even the emperor can't go deep. Including Lin You, everyone was shocked, and their hearts were extremely horrified. But before they could think about it, the elder's voice sounded again, yes, it is said that in the depths of the plane, there are 72 extremely powerful demons guarding, and each demon has the strength of the emperor or above, and the higher the ranking, the stronger the strength. Some people say that they are all subordinates of the demon god. They appear in this phase to guard the place where the demon god fell. As long as they dare to approach the center, they will be attacked madly by them. The elder's voice kept echoing in the ears of the disciples. Lin You listened to it without missing a word. It made him feel astonished at the same time. I didn't expect this monster master plane to have such a big background. Although it is only a rumor, it also shows how terrifying this plane is. Otherwise, there would be no such rumors. The members of the cultivator sect gradually drifted away. Under Lin Yu's gaze, he passed through the light curtain and disappeared from sight. A while. Lin Yu finally came to his senses, and his face became much more solemn. According to the conversations of those people just now, he has learned that all realms are connected to this monster master plane. Even the great emperor occasionally runs deep into the depths to find out the truth about this plane. It's enough to see how big this monster's main plane is. With his current strength, he may not be able to finish it even if he walks for decades. But these have nothing to do with him for the time being. After all, he just came here to hunt monsters. Quick! I heard that there is a demon projection in Kyanchalan, and all fields are already fighting. What? The demon projection has appeared? Then let's hurry up and let people from other realms take the lead. Suddenly, there were several anxious shouts from the side. Several lords rode their respective arms and rushed out of the light curtain to the outside. Seeing this, the other lords also changed their expressions and hurriedly followed in their footsteps. That anxious and excited look suddenly stopped Lin You, who was wandering around, puzzled. Demon projection? What is that? He just came here, and he was completely blind, and he didn't know anything. But looking at the expressions of those lords, he knew that it must be profitable, otherwise it would be impossible to attract so many lords, and he would go in such a hurry. What's more, that thing is related to the word demon, which is not easy to hear. Without hesitation, he also summoned the demon king dragon, hurriedly followed the footsteps of those lords, flew out of the light curtain, and came outside. Until this time, Lin You just found out. The position they were in turned out to be on top of a huge and incomparable stone pillar. And that vast ancient tree grows impressively in the center of the platform at the top of the stone pillar. Its roots and stems wrap around the stone pillar and extend to the ground. Those lords who did not have flying units jumped down the roots of the ancient trees and quickly fell to the ground. Lin You followed the lords with flying arms and flew away from the stone pillar. Gradually, a vast land like the realm of the wilderness came into view. As far as the eye can see, there are huge plants that grow extremely luxuriantly, as well as mountains and rivers, and boulders. In the distance, there are even more turbulent winds and clouds, which converge in various places to form a rare and spectacular picture, which is bizarre. There are even many mountain peaks that go straight into the sky, leaving only half of them above the earth, which is full of oppression. Is this the main plane of monsters? Lin You was shocked. He found that what he had always known about the sun and moon seasons was completely useless in this world. It's as if the rules of the entire plane have been disrupted, and each place operates according to different rules. For example, rivers on the edge of deserts, or snow-capped mountains in volcanic areas. And just when he was shocked by the surrounding environment, the lords who were riding the flying units in front also suddenly accelerated and swept into the depths of the plane. How dare you think too much? Immediately let the demon king dragon speed up to keep up, and soon leave the plane entrance far behind. Until about half an hour after the flight, an area lined with stone pillars gradually came into view, and bursts of shouting and killing began to be heard in my ears. It's over there, really fight. Let's go over there. The lords who had just arrived exclaimed again, and immediately turned around and hurried to the place where the sound was. Gradually, a black beam of light soared into the sky into their eyes. The beam of light was so magnificent that it shot straight into the sky, causing the entire sky to circle around it constantly. And under the beam of light, in the thousand-stone forest, a large group of lords are fighting fiercely with their troops, and they are besieging a giant rock tortoise with colorful spar on its back. Name: Calamity Turtle Ancestor Projection, Lord. Race, Beast. Level, Level 8, SSS level. Strength, 4,500 plus 4,500. Physique, 5,000 plus 5,000. Agility, 3,200 plus 3,200. Spirit, 4,500 plus 4,500. Skills, Swallowing the Sky, Wall of the Turtle Ancestor, Calamity Comes. Chaos, all attributes increased by 100%. Introduction, Under the throne of the demon god, the 72 heavenly demons are ranked 69th, a catastrophe-level creature with the title of the Ancestor of Disasters. Due to the escape of power, projection clones are dropped on the main plane of the monster to destroy them. Get great rewards. This is Lord-level monster. Lin Yu's eyes froze, and a deep surprise flashed in his eyes. From the previous hints in the secret realm, he guessed that there may be higher-level monsters above the boss. But when he actually saw it, he was still shocked to the extreme. That exaggerated attribute is actually twice that of a leader monster of the same level. Coupled with the bonus of SSS level Chaos Infection, the attribute is close to 10,000. This is really an 8th order monster. Lin, you couldn't believe it. I finally understood what those people meant by the demon projection. Even a projection has such terrifying strength. As their body, how powerful should the 72 demons be? You must know that this is only the periphery of the main plane of monsters, and I don't know how far away from the central area. Projected from such a distance, it is still so powerful, and the strength is evident. And the attribute introduction is also very straightforward. Destroy them to get great rewards. No wonder these lords are so tireless, coming from all directions. Isn't this the player grabbing the big boss in the wild? This Lin You is very familiar. After all, when he used to go to work, he did a lot of fishing and ranking. Come on, let's go and have a look. Immediately, Lin You issued an order to the Demon King Dragon under him, and at the same time summoned Lingxi and the remaining plant dragons, and rushed to the direction of the melee. Kill! Come on! Before the people arrived, the screams of killing had already resounded through the sky. The air above the entire 1,000-stone forest vibrated violently. I saw that around the 100-meter-high demon projection, the lords attacked frantically with their troops. Some attacked the demon projection, some attacked the enemies of other realms, and the chaos became a mess. The stone pillars in the 1,000-stone forest continued to explode, making a loud rumbling sound. However, Lin You quickly found the camp of the primordial realm, and immediately ordered the Demon King Dragon to fly into it. Unexpectedly, as soon as he fell, a 7th-order lord from another realm stared at him and touched him secretly. Go! Hearing a low voice from the lord, Lin You suddenly opened up around the ground, and countless skeletons crazily emerged. The number is huge, there are thousands of them, and some of them even reach the level of the 8th order. Even around the lord, there were more than a dozen 8th order necromancers floating around. Under the waving of the wizard's staff, all the skeleton soldiers glowed with red eyes, and with a sudden mention of their aura, Lin You was surrounded in a blink of an eye. What a powerful undead lord! Lin You was shocked. He didn't expect to meet such a formidable opponent as soon as he arrived. However, before he could think about it, a loud shout suddenly came from the side. The of the true spirit world dare to run away from us, to be wild and court deaf. What appeared was a lord who was slightly older than Lin You and had various strange, mechanical arms by his side. I saw that under the command of the cold and arrogant young man, the several fighter wings above his head quickly landed, merged with the 8th order mecha giant beside him, and turned into a huge barrel on the shoulder of the mecha giant. In an instant, the flames scattered. A round of missiles flew out suddenly and fell straight into the army of skeletons around Lin You. Boom boom dash. A series of deafening explosions, those skeletons were all blown to pieces, and even the 8th order was not spared. Let Lin You suddenly empty in front of him. Wen Yanming. It's the good thing that you came to ruin me again. The undead lord looked gloomy and stared at the young man who appeared. Obviously, the two knew each other. Following this opportunity, Lin You quickly stepped aside and summoned some plants to protect himself, while secretly frightened. This monster's main plane really deserves to be the plane that connects all the realms, and it really is strong like a cloud. The strength shown by these two 7th Order lords alone is much stronger than the average 7th Order lord. And there is no sloppy water, and if they disagree, they start the fight directly. Go. Disassemble all this machinery for me. The undead lord shouted loudly, and a large number of skeletons appeared on the ground again. And the number is even more exaggerated than before, there are 3,000. It turned into a vast sea of skeletons and surrounded them. This familiar scene suddenly awakened Lin Yu's heart, and he couldn't help but look at the necromancers beside the undead lord. If he guessed correctly, this should be the same rare unit with the skills of summoning skeletons and skeleton regeneration that he encountered in the main city before. I have to find a chance to get a few over to swallow the copying skills for the piranha. Lin Yu thought to himself in his heart. At this moment, the young man called Wen Yanming also moved. I saw that he was not afraid of the opponent's numerical suppression at all. With a big wave of his hand, several 8th Order mechanical hounds rushed together, then jumped up, and quickly assembled into a giant mecha with one hand saw and one gun in the air. On the chest, there is a laser cannon inlaid, which is very powerful. Depend on mecha combination. Lin, you couldn't help but let out a foul language. I didn't expect the other party to have such cool skills. After the integration of the mecha was completed, Wen Yanming jumped into the cab and started to operate the giant mecha. Following the sound of roaring footsteps, he rushed towards the army of the undead with other mechanical arms. How did he do that? Lin Yu's face was full of question marks. The heart is also very dignified. Because he can clearly feel that the aura of the fit mecha is much higher than the average 8th Order. That is to say, the opponent created a powerful unit exclusive to the mechanical system through skills similar to fusion. This is definitely not a skill that troops should have. Is that person the same as me? The initial reward also draws a mutation-like ability? Probably. After all, the number of people in myriad realms is as vast as the sea, and it is impossible for him to be the only one who draws special abilities. Even in the various planes of each continent, there are many hidden adventures that he does not know about. He wasn't the only one who had an adventure. The main plane of this monster. It's not easy. Seeing that the arms of the two sides collided fiercely, they fought wildly in the distance, and the artillery fire continued. Lin Yu immediately summoned all the troops. As for Qingting, he was left in the territory because he was too big and could easily become the target of the fire. He planned to wait until the situation became clear. Go, get rid of those necromancers. Without thinking much, Lin Yu directly waved his hand and stared at the necromancers who were summoning skeletons. In an instant, a large number of vines emerged and went straight to the sea of skeletons. Okay? The two who were still in the fierce battle were also attracted by the sudden emergence of the plant army, and they were shocked. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. What's going on? How come there are so many plants? With a low voice, the undead lord and Wen Yanming looked in the direction of the source of the plants, and at a glance they saw Lin Yu standing among the plants. It's him? Wen Yanming was slightly surprised. He thought that Lin Yu was just an ordinary 7th Order lord, but he didn't expect that his strength was not weak. Looking at the huge number of troops and the variety of plants, he knew that Lin Yu was not simple, not even weaker than them. But even so, there was a hint of pride on his face. He turned back and shouted to Lin Yu in a deep voice, "He is my prey, you can find someone else." It is said that genius is arrogant. This time Lin Yu finally saw it. But he still thinks about the other party's necromancer. How can he easily retreat? Sorry, this place is not what you said. After dropping a sentence, Qing Gang, who was at the forefront of the team, suddenly roared, causing the attributes of all plants to suddenly increase by 30%, heading straight for the army of skeletons. Seeing this, Wen Yanming frowned, and didn't say anything more, but drove the war mecha to frantically strangle the surrounding skeletons, bullying the undead lord, wanting to kill the opponent first. For a while, the laser, cannon fire, and the vine leaves flew, blowing the skeletons into pieces. Do you think a lot of people can stop my army of skeletons? That's naive. In the face of the double-team siege of the two, the undead lord was not afraid at all. More and more skeletons were summoned to block their way, and there were even more skeleton archers and skeleton mages at the back. Even if the ancient war tree and the giant mecha collide wildly, it is only the same as the frequency of the opponent's summons, and the progress is extremely slow. The undead system with the title of natural disaster is indeed well-deserved. It is only 7th order, and it already has such a scale. Cannon. Seeing that he could not attack for a long time, Lin You made a decisive decision and immediately called the artillery. At this time, the cannon had already eaten several experience orbs specially left by Lin You before, and his attributes were slightly improved. Hearing Lin Yu's order, the dark hole suddenly burst into flames, and then quickly condensed, aiming directly at the undead lord in the distance. Boom! With a loud explosion, a pea-bullet surrounded by dragon flames shot out. Wherever he went, the hurricane erupted and the space exploded. Okay? The undead lord, who was giving orders continuously, let out a light snort, and then his face changed greatly. He only felt a death threat enveloped his body, and his hair exploded. Almost out of instinct, he directly activated the life-saving treasure on his body. Next second, a translucent shield appeared in front of him, and then his body tilted slightly. Boom! The shield exploded and was instantly smashed into countless pieces of slag. The undead lord only felt a sharp pain in his shoulder, and a streamer with flames penetrated through his shoulder blade, blasting a blood hole out of his shoulder. Quick! Quickly return to defense! The undead lord shouted in shock, sweating coldly. He only felt that the blood and bones on his shoulders were scorched, which made him take a deep breath, and at the same time, he was extremely horrified. If he hadn't been sensitive enough to sense danger just now, the bullet would probably have penetrated his heart. What kind of weird attack is this? It was so tyrannical that even his life-saving shield was instantly shattered. You know, it was a treasure that he spent a lot of money to buy, and could withstand the full blow of the 8th order. Stop talking about him. Even when Yan Ming, who was attacking, was full of shock, and was stunned by this sudden change. Although he was confident that he could dodge the attack just now, if he was hit in the front, he would definitely die, and there would be no chance of survival. In horror, he couldn't help turning his head to look at Lin You, who looked annoyed in the distance, his eyes shaking. What is the origin of this guy? How have you never heard of it before? He has been in the sanctuary for so long, and he doesn't say anything to the top 7th order lords of the primitive world, and he still knows more than 80%. But none of these people has such a terrifying plant system. No wonder he was so shocked. Lin You naturally didn't know what they were thinking. Seeing that the cannon's attack was actually dodged by the opponent, he couldn't help frowning. The opponent is not only not weak, but also has such a good response, and has treasures to protect him. It was just the moment of stagnation that the shield blocked, and he deflected his vitals to avoid his fatal blow. In this way, the other party is protected, and it will not be so easy for him to attack again. As predicted. After the shoulder was severely injured, the undead lord immediately drew several skeleton-heavy shield hands in front of him and looked at him solemnly. The three people confronted each other from such a distance, and no one took the lead, making the whole scene instantly silent. Roar! But at this moment, a shocking roar sounded, interrupting their confrontation. Immediately afterwards, the entire ground suddenly began to vibrate violently, and even the dark clouds in the sky began to rapidly gather. What's the matter? Is there an earthquake? No, it's the sky. Look at the sky. Fuck. What is that? The roar of the demon projection interrupted the attacks of all the lords. They stopped and looked up at the sky. I saw that in the surging dark clouds, a phantom of a huge turtle head suddenly appeared, and slowly opened its mouth downward. In an instant, the wind was surging, and there was lightning and thunder. A powerful suction instantly enveloped the entire central area of Thousand Stone Forest. Not good. It's that turtle's skill. Get out of here. The lords who were attacking the phantom of the demons changed their expressions and hurriedly dispersed. Immediately afterwards, the suction suddenly increased, and countless boulders were pulled up and sucked into the sky. Even the lords and troops who ran slowly were all swept up into the sky, and were swallowed directly by the huge mouth in a shrill scream. Blood stained the sky. Hey! What a perverted skill. Is this a lord-level monster? Everyone be careful. Don't get close to the skill range. The scene that was like a catastrophe at the end of the day made the lords exclaim in surprise. How dare you approach, and hurriedly dispersed with the troops, watching from a distance. Even the ongoing battle for the realm had to be temporarily terminated and returned to the camps in their respective realms. Until half a minute passed. The giant mouth was gradually withdrawn and disappeared into the surging dark clouds. The terrifying suction also disappeared, as if it had never appeared. After the Calamity Ancestral Turtle cast this powerful skill, it fell into a short-term weakness, and the entire huge body lay on the spot, motionless. Good chance. Let's go together and get rid of it. The surviving lord's eyes lit up instantly. How could they miss such a great opportunity, and rushed up with their respective arms. For a time, in the sky and underground, countless troops surrounded the Calamity Ancestral Tortoise, attacked and danced in the sky, and exploded wildly on the Calamity Ancestral Tortoise. Seeing that the kill was promising, Lin You and Wen Yanming also directly gave up their plan to continue to double-team the undead lord and joined the siege team. Under so many heart attacks. Even if the Calamity Ancestral Tortoise has 10,000 physiques, it is still difficult to resist. In the roar of anger, the spar block on his body cracks and shatters continuously. Roar. Finally, the Calamity Ancestral Tortoise recovered again. Lifting its huge forelimbs, it slammed down towards the troops in front of him. The lord of that position changed his expression, but he didn't have time to escape. Hearing only a loud bang, the whole ground shook violently, and it smashed the whole ground to the ground. The troops within the attack range were all smashed into flesh, and no one was spared, which made the hearts of the lords jump. This leader-level monster is really not so easy to deal with. Lin You mingled in the crowd, occupying a corner, constantly directing the plants to attack, and at the same time being alert to the every move of the other realm lords. Just in case they make a sneak attack at such a time. However, the sneak attack did not wait, but instead the skills of the Calamity Ancestral Turtle. I saw a dazzling ray of light suddenly burst out from the colorful crystals on its tortoise's back, condensing into pieces of transparent tortoise shells around it, protecting its entire body. The attacks of all the lord's arms fell on the transparent tortoise shell, and they exploded continuously, but they could only bring up a ripple, and there was no way to hurt the ancestor tortoise. Damn. This monster is recovering. This protective skill has a healing effect. Quick, interrupt its skills, or the attack just now will be in vain. The lords were anxious. They finally broke through the defense of the Calamity Ancestral Turtle and were about to get the treasure. If it recovers at this time, I am afraid that I will have to experience the terrifying skill just now, and it will fall short in the end. Who dares to think too much? One by one immediately broke out the means of pressing the bottom of the box, and attacked wildly after fighting for so long. I am afraid that this time is the most united, who is the tacit understanding. They didn't interfere with each other anymore. Qing Gang. Lin You shouted towards the front. Qing Gang, who was bombarding the tortoise shell shield, received the signal and immediately launched a savage roar, making all plant attributes suddenly mentioned. Under the full blast, the spirit of the cannon directly broke through 3,000, and it itself has a 150% damage bonus, and a 40% ignoring defense. Boom! With a loud bang, a mighty bullet shot out, opened the sky, and slammed into the tortoise shell protection of the Calamity Ancestral Turtle. Click! The tortoise shell shield cracked open, and there were cracks, but they were not completely broken, and there was a slight difference. Let me do it. At this moment, a loud shout suddenly came from the side. When Yenming, who was not far from Lin You, gave an order, and the mechanical arms around him quickly gathered on several mecha chariots, forming 5 huge gun barrels with a caliber of 2 meters on their bodies. Then, in a violent explosion, 5 missiles rushed out at the same time, landing precisely on the crack that Lin You had just made. Boom boom dash. Crack. Finally, under the double blow of the two, the tortoise shield was completely shattered, turning into pieces of the sky and falling down. Success. The shield is broken. Attack quickly. The treasure is ours. The lords were in high spirits and attacked frantically. But they didn't notice that, I don't know since when, a large number of dandelions began to appear around them, and they continued to spread around, attaching to them and soldiers. Even from the sky, red mushrooms that did not explode fell one by one and fell to their feet. Roar dash. An unwilling roar resounded throughout the 1,000-stone forest. Under the mad siege of the lords of various realms, the Calamity ancestral tortoise was finally penetrated by the tortoise shell and fell to the ground with a bang. Seeing that he was seriously injured and dying, all the lords were shocked in their hearts, and gradually approached him with troops. Obviously, they all want to rush up immediately and the rewards dropped by the lord monsters. Lin You is naturally the same. He has already made the cannon aimed at the weakness of the Calamity ancestral turtle and is ready to go. Gradually, the lords all began to hold their breaths, and the atmosphere became subtle. Come on, get rid of it. Suddenly, a loud shout sounded. An 8th order demon lord hidden in the crowd suddenly burst out. A 9th order demon beside him held a dark spear high and swept towards the heart of the Calamity ancestral turtle. Puff. Ow. The sound of flesh and blood being pierced, accompanied by a terrifying howl of the Calamity ancestral tortoise, echoed in the ears of all the lords. Congratulations, you successfully killed the 8th order lord monster and obtained 100,000 magic energy. The sudden change shocked all the lords. Unexpectedly, there was an 8th order lord hidden in the crowd, and he also brought a 9th order unit. Just hearing a loud bang, the body of the Calamity ancestral tortoise exploded, turning into countless energy fragments, and condensing into the same radiant things in the air. Like a goddess scattered flowers, scattered. Among them, there is an 8th order territorial essence, 10 7th order territorial essences, and 3 golden treasures. At the moment when these things appeared, the 8th order lord took the first shot, went straight to the 8th order territorial essence and the treasure closest to him, took it into his arms, and then turned around and fled. Not good. The treasure was robbed. Stop him. Don't let him run away. Put down the treasure. The lords roared again and finally reacted, and immediately surrounded the 8th order lord. The 8th order lord also knows that 2 fists are hard to beat with 4 hands. Even if he had a 9th order unit, he couldn't hold the large surging 8th order unit. He jumped and was taken directly into the air by the demon, flying away from the encirclement at an extremely fast speed. As for the remaining lords, they made a mess in an instant and swarmed frantically to the remaining treasures. Go. Unexpectedly, at this time a low voice suddenly sounded from the crowd. The lord who was still on the run and his troops only felt a sharp pain in his body, and clusters of blood-colored dandelions quickly grew. What's the matter? What the is this? Be careful, it's a blood-sucking dandelion of the plant system. Quick! Quickly disperse the treatment. The lords exclaimed again, and their expressions changed greatly. Before he could react at all, some of the lords' bodies spasmed, and a large mass of dandelion exploded in their abdominal cavity, and fell to the ground with serious injuries. Others were dragged by the dandelion growing outside the body, and they approached the treasure while trying to clear it. Unexpectedly. At this time, the mushrooms scattered on the ground suddenly detonated. Boom boom dash. A series of violent explosions shook the entire scene. Kill the 7th order lord of the alien plane, get 200,000 mana, and the 7th order territory essence X1. Kill the 7th order lord of the alien plane, get 340,000 mana, and the 7th Order Territory Essence X1. Listening to the reminders that kept ringing in his mind, Lin You didn't care. Taking advantage of the chaos, he had already arrived at the central area, grabbed a treasure and 3 Tier 7 territory essences without even looking at it, then recalled the land troops to the territory, mounted the Demon King Dragon, turned around and fled. Not good. The thing was stolen by him, hurry up. Flying troops stop him. The lords who reacted roared and chased after Lin You. In the blink of an eye, Lin You was blocked by a group of flying troops outside the encirclement, and surrounded him from all directions. Push them away. Lin Yu's face turned ruthless, and he directly gave orders to the Demon King Dragon. The Demon King Dragon let out a high-pitched dragon roar, and together with the other plant dragons, he activated the Swift Shadow skill and rushed outside. Lingxi, on the other hand, took the Goblin Legion to wave the staff constantly to solve the troops that rushed up. Roar. Seeing that more and more troops were blocking the way, the Demon King Dragon under Lin You burst into dragon might and was extremely brave. In the roar, a dragon claw directly slapped a large area of troops in front of it into flesh on the spot, slammed away the troops surrounded by them, and fled away. As soon as those troops that were in chaos were about to catch up, Lingxi, who was in charge of the breakup, raised his staff high, and the force of nature surged wildly. Whoa! The leaves in the sky suddenly condensed, weaving a large green net in the air, and shot out towards those troops. For a time, the corpses of the troops fell like rain and kept falling. Even the 8th tier troops can't resist the power of Lingxi's blow. Let's go! Lin You made a decisive decision, and immediately accelerated to escape from here and flew to the outside of the 1,000-stone forest. It was not until more than 10 minutes later that he finally threw off the last group of chasing soldiers and landed to hide in the next dense forest. Call, dash. Finally escaped. Lin You let out a long sigh with uncontrollable joy on his face, but at the same time he was terrified. The 7th Order lords of these realms are indeed not simple. If he hadn't already prepared, let the Blood Goo Dandelion and the Mushroom Demon King arrange in advance, and spread the dandelion and explosive mushrooms out, I am afraid it would not be so easy to create chaos, let alone grab the treasure and escape the scene. And he didn't expect it either. After the death of the 8th Order Lord Monster, so many treasures and territorial essences will explode, including an 8th Order essence. No wonder even the 8th Order lords were attracted. I don't know if there will be Lord Monsters above the 9th Order in the deeper places. If there is, wouldn't it drop a lot of territorial essence of the 8th and 9th Order? Thinking of this, Lin You seemed to understand a little bit why he rarely saw high-rank lords in this peripheral area. I am afraid that they will all go to the depths, to the essence of the territory above the 8th Order. After taking a deep breath, he began to count the gains he had just made. The essence of the 7th Order territory that the 3 Lord Monsters exploded, plus the one obtained by killing the Lord during the chaos, a total of 15. Counting the 5 he had left before, it was just enough to raise the 2 arms to Tier 8, and the harvest was simply beyond his imagination. In this way, not only the materials for upgrading the cannon to Tier 8 are collected, but also an additional Tier 8 can be upgraded. Knowing this earlier, he left all the monsters killing heads to the cannon when he brushed the secret realm before. Lin You reluctantly clicked on the attribute interface of the cannon. The experience value was 980/2500, and even half of it had not yet arrived. Among them, 300 points are still upgraded from experience orbs. Even if you rely on the ancient tree of knowledge, it will take a long time to fill up. It seems that I can only find time to brush the secret realm, and rely on the experience bonus of the forest sage to increase its experience. Anyway, there are enough 7th Order monsters in the secret realm, and it should be full after brushing it 2 or 3 times. If you are lucky enough to reveal a secret treasure or a weapon token, it will be even more bloody. Thinking of this, Lin You lowered his head again and looked at another thing in his hand. A cross that looks a bit like the angelic relic that he sold before. But the color is a bit darker, gold. Item name, Resurrection Cross Chapter. Prop effect, Use this prop at the core of the territory to directly revive the designated unit, which requires a large amount of mana and is a one-time prop. This is troop resurrection props? Lin Yu's face was overjoyed. There were such rare items in what the Lord Monster exploded. Can directly revive a dead unit. That is to say, he no longer has to worry about the accidental death of royal troops in the future. Although it needs to consume a lot of mana, it is worth it for the preciousness of a royal unit. This trip to the monster plane is really a huge harvest. Makes him a little bit want to live here and not leave, and because he just killed so many lords, his mana has risen to more than 4 million, which is more than the secret realm, and it is faster. Although those who were killed so easily were those lords who were weaker and had less mana. But I can't stand the number. 1 dozen or 200,000, and a few more will directly break 1 million, and the essence of the territory, making a fortune, is just around the corner. Certainly. This has to be fought every day. Forget it, let's go back and fix it first. Lin You shook his head helplessly. Seeing that it was getting dark, he did not stay in the forest any longer. Ride on the Demon King Dragon and fly directly into the sky. From a distance, you can already see the towering ancient tree at the entrance of the plain, so don't worry about not knowing the direction. Soon, he went back to the stone pillar wrapped by the light curtain and entered it through the light curtain. Then it didn't take long for other lords who went to participate in the crusade of the Lord Monsters to appear one after another and rushed back from the outside. A closer look, one by one, is actually very embarrassed. Some were even scorched black by the blast, and half of their hair was bald. During the chaos just now, Lin You deliberately reduced the number of dandelions and mushrooms on the primitive realm side, which only caused a riot. But even so, there are still many lords who have been recruited, and they have been bombed to shame and displeased. Fuck. If I know which threw the bomb, I'll have to beat him up. You're fine, it's just that I was bombed bald. I was bombed and eaten by a dog, and I almost didn't get trampled to death. I don't know which old imbi it is, but it's so hateful to lay mines on the ground beforehand. There are also those dandelions. I took a long time to get rid of them, but when I realized that the treasures were all robbed, and I killed a lot of troops, it was a blood loss. Isn't there a consolation prize of 100,000 mana? Enough for you to resummon troops. The lords who just came back scolded, walked into the space entrance in a blink of an eye, and disappeared into the monster plane. In general. This time, due to the fact that the demon projection is relatively close to this side, the loss of the original world lord is relatively much smaller, and there are no large numbers of casualties. As the lords continued to return, the sky outside gradually darkened. When the brilliance of the blood moon in the sky overwhelmed the sun, the night also completely shrouded the entire plain. Vaguely. The sun and moon in the clouds seemed to turn into a pair of eyes, quietly watching the vast land below. When Lin You returned to the territory, it was already night. Hanga City is brightly lit and very lively. At the end of a busy day, the residents gathered in the street to stroll and play, and the noise could be heard from a distance. Lin You did not let Lantern Grass use the sound-receiving skills to isolate these sounds. Because he likes this kind of fireworks, and only in this way can he feel that he is not out of this world. Maybe it was because he was in a good mood just after harvesting the good things. He rarely left the territory and wandered on the newly built streets of Hanga City. Hello, Lord. I have seen the Lord. On the way, many people who saw him would run over to say hello. Lin You responded with a smile and walked all the way. Soon. He came to the training ground in the inner city, and happened to meet Yu Lao, who was instructing Wei Gang and a group of cultivators to fight, and the field kept shouting. He just stood outside like this, watching the practitioners learn from each other and fight. After a while, Yu Daonan was shocked when he noticed him. I have seen the Lord. His voice was deliberately lowered a lot, but it was still heard by Wei Gang and others who were resting on the sidelines, and they turned around. The Lord is here? Lord, why are you here? Wei Gang and a group of practitioners got up one after another and came to Lin You to salute him. I'll just come over and take a look, you guys continue. Lin You smiled slightly, letting the practitioners who stopped to ignore him. Then I glanced at it briefly, and found that there were a lot of 7th order practitioners in the field. Even Wei Gang's momentum has increased, and there is a faint trend of reaching the 7th rank. It seems that the effect of Yu Lao's guidance is very good. As expected of a 9th order cultivator. Correct. At this moment, Wei Gang suddenly thought of something and said, Lord, the caravan from the Fire Country said that there have been more and more 7th order monsters in the Gobi recently, and many people in the team have been injured. What do you think we should do? There are more 7th order monsters? Lin Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. Recently, because he has been leading the troops to fight outside, the task of escorting the caravan has been handed over to the cultivator team in Hanga City. But now it seems that there is still some danger. And since the last time Emperor Xingyao killed the 11th order lord of Yuansha realm, their luck in the primitive realm has been greatly supplemented, and even the number of monsters has increased rapidly. It's better to stay a little bit outside the Gobi. The deeper place is probably full of 7th order monsters, which is not good for escorts. After thinking about it for a while, he said, since this is the case, I will send some high-level plants to me next time. Also, go back and talk to Director Shui, let him recruit more practitioners above the 7th rank, and the treatment can be appropriately increased. Okay, I'll tell him then. Wei Gang replied respectfully. The caravan was the main source of funds for their Yellow Sand City, so naturally they couldn't let it go wrong. Anyway, you need to be escorted once every 5 days, so it's not too much trouble to send any royal troops to lead thee at that time. That's all. After listening to Wei Gang's report on the recruitment of caravans and practitioners, Lin You left the training ground and rushed back to the territory. Early the next morning. As soon as the sky brightened, Lin You got up. After a simple preparation, he went directly through the gate of the secret realm and came to the sanctuary. Before entering the secret realm, he also took a look at the list stone tablet. Sure enough, as the Lord said, the list has been reset, and almost all of the people on the top are S rank. But this month is a little different. Several lords even cleared the SSS level secret realm on the first day, and the difficulty score was not low. Even the Wen Yanming he met before was only ranked 3rd. What kind of medicine do these guys take? Could it be that the explosion rate is relatively high at the beginning of the month? With a suspicious look on his face, Lin You took Lingxi through the lords who were gathering teammates and walked into the entrance of the secret realm. Please select the difficulty of the secret realm. 7th order SSS level, let's score 1000 directly. This time, Lin You went straight to the highest difficulty. Before, because the arms had not yet been formed, I did not dare to take too many risks. Not so now. Not only does he have all MOS units, but he also has a cannon, a big killer, which can completely break through the highest difficulty. So without hesitation, just choose OK. The difficulty selection is successful, and the secret realm is being allocated. Because the secret realm you choose is extremely difficult, please be careful. OK? Why is there one more tip than usual? Lin You remembered that when he entered the secret realm before, there was no such prompt. Is this secret realm with 1000 rating difficulty different from the 999 difficulty he had cleared before? Unfortunately. Don't give him a chance to think about it at all. A suction force has wrapped him. Swish. The light flashed, and he appeared in a gray space, and at the same time a few reminders sounded in his ears. Secret realm allocation is successful. Current secret realm, Tower of Sin, 7th order SSS level. Difficulty rating, 1000, highest. Attention, due to being infected by the chaotic breath, the attributes of all monsters are increased by 100%, please be careful. Current location, level 1 of the Tower of Sin. The Tower of Sin? Lin You murmured in a daze, looking at the huge space around him. It didn't look like he was in a tower, no matter what. It is not so much a tower as it is a world. Because this tower is so big. The inner walls of the tower can only be seen from a distance, standing between the heavens and the earth, so high that even the ceiling cannot be seen. Then a chain of chains hung down from the sky, with countless giant cages hanging above his head. And the land where he was located was covered with bones and dried blood, almost dyeing the entire ground dark red. Rustling. Suddenly, a piercing molar sounded in the distance, accompanied by a sound of chewing. Lin You was alert and immediately summoned all the troops. The 120 ancient war trees led by Qin Gang led the way, carefully approaching the source of the sound. Among the 120 ancient war trees, 30 are symbiotic moss bodies, and the rest are proliferated. As for the explosive mushrooms, banshee vines, and goblins in the back, Lin You kept 25 bodies each. After proliferating, the number has quadrupled, and it looks like a mighty piece. Other units, such as piranha and cactus and dandelion and the like. Because the mutation probability is relatively low, except for the 10 plants of piranha, the others are basically single digits. But after the split, it was also a very large team that protected Lin You well. Passing through the piles of bones everywhere, I finally saw the source of the sound. It turned out to be a petite aberration monster crawling on the edge of the blood pool and eating the corpse. Name, Distorted Brain Demon. Race, Undead. Level 7, SSS. Strength, 900, plus 1000. Physique, 1000, plus 1000. Agility, 1000, plus 1000. Spirit, 900, plus 1000. Skills, Haste, Brain Shock, Split. Chaos, all attributes increased by 100%. Introduction, a distorted monster that likes to the brain marrow. It is extremely fast, can split into a large number of individuals, and has extremely strong vitality. A full-bodied monster. Lin You was shocked. This attribute was even more terrifying than his 7th Order Royal armies. Is this the secret realm of the highest difficulty? It's only the first wave of monsters, and it has already reached this level. You must know that his proliferating troops that have symbiotic moss have only 1089 in their highest attributes, and they have not reached 2000. If it weren't for the blessing of the halo, I'm afraid it would be really difficult to deal with. And just when Lin You was shocked, those distorted brain demons also noticed his arrival, suddenly raised their heads one by one, and roared at him. Whoosh! 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 In the blink of an eye, all the distorted brain demons exploded, turned into black shadows, and flew towards Lin You from all directions. The speed is too fast to be seen by the naked eye. A lot of them even split directly in the air, then jumped onto the chained cages hanging in the air, and jumped down suddenly. That number, at least 2,000 or 3,000. Qin Gang. In the face of such a swift and violent offensive, Lin You did not hesitate to let Qin Gang unleash a savage roar. In an instant, the red light diffused, and the attributes of all plants increased by 30%, directly meeting those distorted brain demons. Bang! 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 A series of muffled noises came, and the ancient war tree army at the forefront took the lead, launching one by one to sweep the army, swinging its huge arms, and blasting out the distorted brain demons one by one. But what shocked Lin You was that those distorted brain demons were only seriously injured after being hit hard. Then, as if nothing had happened, he got up from the ground with a roar, and rushed towards this side. Defensive formation! Lin You shouted, and immediately let the plants change their tactics, all scattered around the vine forest. Fortunately, the vines of the ivy are not covered. Under the blessing of powerful attributes, giant vines danced wildly, blocking all the distorted brain demons that rushed up. After the support of other plants arrived, the situation was finally stabilized. What Lin You didn't expect was that the most dazzling performance was the flame shooter who received the blessing of destruction dragon flame. Together with the cannons, they fired a continuous burst towards the outside. The P-bullet with the effect of dragon flame flew out and penetrated the bodies of the distorted brain demons. It actually caused their bodies to ignite a piece of dragon flame, which blocked their splitting and flesh and blood regeneration, and fell to the ground and kept screaming. And the P bullet also has a knockback effect. Even if they were not killed on the spot, they were all knocked out, dismantling a large offensive and causing the pressure on other plants to plummet. Very good. Nice job. Lin You sighed in admiration, and also activated the power of the rules, condensing the wooden thorns to shoot down a few brain demons. In just a few minutes, the number of distorted brain demons dropped sharply by 1/3. As if feeling that there is no way to break through the defenses of the plants if it goes on like this, the remaining distorted brain demons suddenly let out a harsh roar. Suddenly, an invisible wave like an ultrasonic wave erupted, covering Lin You and all the plants. Boom! The nearest proliferating ancient trees suddenly exploded. This is the brain shock wave skill of the distorted brain demon. Lin Yu's expression changed. Like this area of skill, one or a few activations are fine, but if hundreds or thousands of them are activated at the same time, the result will be different. I saw that under the shroud of that powerful sound wave, his proliferating plant bodies exploded one after another, killing them one after another. Even he himself had a splitting headache, as if his entire head was about to explode. When those distorted brain demons saw that the skills were effective, they increased the output power and roared one by one. The plants that forced Lin You to retreat gradually gathered around Qingting, and turned from offense to defense. This most difficult secret realm is so abnormal. In a hurry, Lin You didn't even think about it. The 16 lantern grasses in the territory are directly summoned, and the 2 skills of tranquility and vacuum are activated at the same time, which isolates the sound and air around them. Next second, Lin You only felt the silence in his ears, but he actually blocked the sonic attack of the distorted brain demon, and his plants recovered instantly. Very good. Interrupt their skills. There is no need for Lin You to issue an order. The recovered plant legion immediately launched an offensive against the distorted brain demons outside. In an instant, the explosive mushrooms thrown from the sky turned into a parabola and spread out in all directions. Boom boom dash. The entire space in the tower shook. Where has the Mushroom Demon King suffered such grievances? Under its leadership, the explosive mushrooms were thrown out desperately as if they didn't need money, and they spread to every corner of the surroundings in a blink of an eye. For a time, the bombing sounded, and the explosions continued. Especially the area where the Mushroom Demon King is located. The mushrooms exploded violently, killing a large number of distorted brain demons, and at the same time turning into countless spores and spreading to other distorted brain demons. Then there was a series of secondary explosions, which blasted out pieces of brain demons, and those at the center of the explosion were directly blown into fly ash. Seeing this, the other plants were also unambiguous, and took advantage of the fact that the distorted brain magic skills were interrupted and plunged into chaos. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless vines swept out, tying up the distorted brain demons, one by one. Just as those brain demons were about to struggle, their blood was quickly drained and turned into a mummified corpse, or they were instantly divided by other plants that arrived. The entire scene was chaotic and abnormal, filled with the roars and screams of the distorted brain demons, as well as the resurrected undead flowers. Until more than 20 minutes later. Only finally solved all the brain demons, making the whole scene instantly empty. Call. It's finally over. Lin You exhaled a suffocating breath, and his tense spirit relaxed. Congratulations, you have cleared the first floor of the Tower of Sin. A beep sounds. Above the open space in the distance, a teleportation formation that could accommodate one person suddenly appeared, emitting a dazzling white light. If Lin You guessed correctly, this should be the road to the second floor. I don't know how many floors the Tower of Sin has. The first layer is so outrageous, and the next step is not easy. After thinking about it, Lin You clicked on the Canon Attribute interface and took a look. The experience has risen to 1,200 points, which is about 200 points more than when I came. Counting the experience bonus of the Forest Sage, that is, killing about 100 distorted brain demons, which is not bad. The only pity is that those split individuals have no experience in killing, otherwise the number will be even more. But it is precisely because of these brain demons that his symbiotic moss has been copied to a good attribute. With a full body agility, plus 900 points of strength and spirit, it's a perfect match with a cannon. In this way, it can not only ensure the survivability of the cannon, but also improve the power of its skills, and at the same time, it can also bring blessings to agile troops such as the cactus and the blade lion. So when he was just fighting Lin You directly let 10 symbiotic moss copy the attributes of the distorted brain demon and kept it as a backup. Let's go, it's time to go to the second floor to have a look. After resting for a period of time and filling up all the proliferating units, Lin You walked directly into the teleportation array leading to the second floor. Swish! The light flashed. He appeared on an island surrounded by seawater. That's right. It's an island. An island almost only 1 kilometer in diameter. Wherever the eyes go, there is endless sea water, constantly rushing on the sandy beaches around the island. Above the head, there is also a dazzling sun. Lin You was stunned. Could it be that every floor of the Tower of Sin is self-contained? Don't dare to be careless, immediately summon the plants to your side, sit in the center of the island with ivy, and other plants spread around the coast to form a defensive formation. Sure enough, it didn't take long. A gust of wind suddenly blew all around, and the sea began to churn up large waves. Whoosh! Suddenly, a poisonous arrow shot out from the shallow water area and pointed directly at Lin You. Lin You responded in a timely manner, and directly stretched out his hand. A turtle shield mirror wall appeared in front of him, and with a pop, the poisonous arrow was blocked by the mirror wall and fell to the ground. Immediately after, a large number of strange screams suddenly came from the sea water, and countless small figures emerged from the shallow sea area, surrounding the islands. Take a closer look, it is actually a humanoid murloc monster. Name, Blowfish Man. Race, humanoid. Level 7, SSS. Strength, 1000, plus 1000. Physique, 850, plus 850. Agility, 900, plus 900. Spirit, 1000, plus 1000. Skills, Poison Arrow, Water Shock, Blister Body Protection. Chaos, all attributes increased by 100%. Introduction, living in the shallow sea area, a murloc monster who is good at using poison. His intelligence is far beyond that of ordinary monsters, and he likes to live in groups. Obviously. The poisoned arrow just now came from the blowfisher. Besides, the murlocs emerging from the sea were not only the blowback murlocs, but also many sword-shield murlocs with boneblade shields in their hands. Whoa! At this time, the sea swelled violently again. Several handheld war drums appeared, and the giant murlocs surrounded by sea water appeared, violently beating the war drums in front of them. Boom! With a loud bang, the sound of the drum turned into a circle of ripples, instantly covering all the murlocs rushing out of the sea, making their speed and momentum suddenly mentioned. Group gain. Lin You was startled in his heart, looked at the attributes of those murlocs, and it was actually 20% higher than before. How dare you think about it, and directly issue an order to the ancient war tree at the forefront. All ancient trees of war, trampled by war. Block them. Roar. All the ancient war trees roared, and directly launched the war to trample, and collided with the murlocs who rushed up. The natural ancient trees on one side also summoned tree demons to join the charge team. The other plants followed, frantically outputting, and in a blink of an eye, the murloc army was blocked on the coast. However, what Lin You didn't expect was that, under the blessing of the group gain, those murlocs were not lost to his proliferating troops at all, and they continued to deal with the plants by virtue of their dexterity. There are countless poisonous arrows flying out from the rear, and the front row of ancient trees is inserted all over the body. Venom continued to flow along the wound, frantically corroding their bodies. If it wasn't for the fairies in the rear to heal, I'm afraid the defense line would have been broken long ago. Lin You was shocked. When he was just teleported, the immortal flower, which was a summoned object, did not follow, causing the number of his plants to drop sharply. For a while, he was at a stalemate, and a large number of casualties began to appear. Go, get rid of those drummers. Seeing that the Murloc's offensive was getting faster and faster, Lin You immediately shouted at the Demon King, the dragon and the concubine, who was in the air. Several plant dragons received the order, and immediately gave up the Murlocs they were slaughtering, and flew straight to the rear of the Murlocs, targeting the war drum Murlocs. Unexpectedly, the dartfish seemed to have discovered their plan, and they changed directions one after another, shooting poisonous needles into the air, forcing them all back. It even protects the rear assist. However, Lin Yu's plant dragon, as a rare soldier, cannot be suppressed casually. Seeing that the poisonous needles were all over the front, they all let out a high-pitched dragon roar, which turned into afterimages, and circled around each other at high speed. In an instant, a gust of wind picked up. In a loud bang, all the dartfish below, including the sea water, were swept up into the sky, forming a giant waterspout on the sea level. Even the few war drum Murlocs were not spared, and were torn apart by the violent current, and finally died on the spot. And the momentum of those sword shield Murlocs also weakened. Good opportunity. Start the counterattack. Lin You was shocked, and immediately issued a counterattack order to the plants. Just at this moment, Qin Gang's savage roar also recovered, and he roared directly to the sky, making the attributes of all plants suddenly mentioned. This, +1-. The plants finally regained their disadvantage, killing those Murlocs who rushed up, and then reborn into undead flowers. Gradually, there were more and more undead flowers on the field, and finally reached the point where the number of Murlocs was equal. Under the leadership of several royal arms, it is even more invincible. It only took more than 10 minutes to kill most of the Murlocs. Seeing that the situation was not good, the remaining Murlocs immediately threw away their helmets and armor, fled back to the sea in a burst of strange cries, and disappeared in a short while. Congratulations, you have cleared the second floor of the Tower of Sin. Same as the first layer. The moment the prompt sounded, a teleportation array appeared on the island. There is no meaning to clear the secret realm. I want to see how many layers the secret realm has. Lin, you really got into trouble with this secret realm today. Without thinking too much, I just sat on the ground and let the plants recover first, preparing to wait for the state to fully recover before continuing to the third floor. And this time, above the floating platform in the sanctuary of the secret realm, 2 rays of light flashed. A burly man with a giant axe on his back, and a tall, slender youth in a brocade robe suddenly appeared. Situ Jian? I didn't expect to meet you here, it's really bad luck. Seeing the young man, the man snorted with disgust. Situ Jian glanced at him, and said lightly, it should be me who should say bad luck. You are good at Barbarian Stone City, what are you doing here? It's not the same for you. The good Dian Empire Palace didn't wait, and came here, why? Are you tired of the delicacies of the mountains and seas? In the face of Situ Jian's counterattack, the man was not afraid at all, but instead made fun of it. Hearing his words, Situ Jian frowned slightly, and his footsteps paused. But he didn't pay any attention to the other party, and walked straight towards the door of the secret realm. When the other lords on the platform saw these two people, they suddenly turned pale with shock. Isn't that the Prince Situ Jian of the Dian Empire? And the reckless man Yanlai, who is known as the first person of the 7th Order humanoid type. How did they come? On the floating platform. All the lords stopped and looked at the two people who suddenly appeared in shock. Although the strength of these two is only 7th Order. But those lords, including the 8th Order, couldn't help but give birth to a 3-point agreement. Because of the strength of these two people, even among the 7th Order lords of the entire primitive continent, all in the top 10. Even if you encounter an ordinary 8th Order lord, you will have the power to fight. How come the two of them are here at the same time? Is something big going to happen? I heard that Situ Jian is the only son of the great Emperor Dian. It stands to reason that there should be no shortage of resources. And Yanlai too. Last time, he killed 7 in and 7 out on the battlefield of Wanjia, and grabbed a lot of treasures. Fuck. So fierce? That's a 7th order battlefield. The lords were discussing in private, exclaiming constantly. But don't know. After Situ Jian heard their words, his expression gradually became colder, and he didn't seem to like others calling him the son of the emperor. With a cold snort, several black shadows shot out with a swoosh centered on him. During those discussions, the lord didn't even react, and his neck suddenly hurt, and he was cut open. The lords turned pale in shock, and quickly stretched out their hands to cover their necks, only to find that it was only a shallow wound, not fatal. And after the attack, those shadows finally revealed their stature. It is a phantom mantis that only reaches the 8th order. Only the size of a palm. This time, the lords did not dare to speak anymore, and they closed their mouths one by one, their faces full of fear. If Situ Jian had just killed him, the wounds on their necks would probably be more than that. Obviously, this is Situ Jian's warning to them. Only. The warning seemed to be of no use to the severe side. Seeing Situ Jian recalling the mantis, Yan Lai laughed mercilessly. Situ Jian, you are still the same as before, so careful. What? Want to do it? Situ Jian said coldly. Do it, am I still afraid that you will fail? Yan Lai raised his brows, not to be outdone, and even stretched out his hand to summon a few Tier 8 wild orcs. These wild orcs are very different from other kinds of orcs. Not only tall, but also equipped with a set of sophisticated equipment, from head to toe, almost armed to the teeth. On his shoulders is a double-edged axe, and an aura can be felt from a distance. A trace of solemnity flashed in Situ Jian's eyes. After taking a deep look at Yan Lai, he finally snorted coldly. I'm here to clear the most difficult secret realm, not to fight with you. After finishing speaking, he took his insect troops into the gate of the secret realm. Seeing this, Yan Lai immediately grinned. Coward, just like you want to get through the most difficult secret realm? Save it, then I will reward Yan Lai. After all, he walked into the door of the secret realm and disappeared. Only the people who were talking about it were left. The other side. The 3rd floor of the Tower of Sin. In a mine full of gravel. Boom. A muffled sound echoed in the tower. Lin Yu's eyes were tense. Looking at the last fallen rock monster, he breathed a sigh of relief. As he guessed, the environment on the 3rd floor of the Tower of Sin is really different from the first 2 floors. It is a barren and abandoned mine. And the monsters that appear are also different. They are rock monsters of the element system, with a frighteningly high defense and defensive skills. If it weren't for his flaming shooter attack with piercing armor, and the royal troops killing them one by one, I'm afraid it would be really difficult to deal with. However, it was precisely because of clearing the 3rd layer that he finally confirmed another conjecture in his heart. That is, each floor of the Tower of Sin represents a monster type. The first 3 layers he encountered were undead, humanoid, and elemental. That is to say, 7 monsters, angels, demons, humanoids, beasts, insects, plants, and machines should be encountered later. A full 10 levels. Just outrageous. If it weren't for the amazing recovery ability of his plant system, I am afraid that he would have lost a lot when he was halfway through the customs clearance, and it would be difficult to continue. Not to mention other 7th order lords. It is estimated that the first 2 levels are enough. It's only 1 point difference. How can the difficulty difference be so big? Lin You couldn't understand. But he could feel that behind such a difficult secret realm, there must be a very rich reward hidden. Or there is a very high chance of treasures appearing. Even if this is not the case, then each layer can obtain about 500,000 magic energy, and can also level up the cannon, making a steady profit. Thinking of this, Lin Yu's eyes suddenly heated up. After resting for a while in the 3rd floor space, after the plants recovered, he stepped directly into the teleportation array and teleported to the 4th floor. It was not what he expected. On the 4th floor, there is an endless desert. The monsters inside are all huge beasts of sand beasts, and they will all sneak into the sand to attack. Fortunately, the vines of the ivy stretched into the ground to force them out, and it did not cause much damage. After a fierce battle, it was finally passed, without any danger. 5th and 6th floors. They are the molten hell of the demon department and the giant ant nest of the insect department. Because of attribute restraint and the huge number of relationships, Lin Yu's plants finally began to attrition, losing 3 proliferating bodies and symbiotic moss. Subsequently, Lin You went to the 7th and 8th floors one after another. The mechanic department's meteorite land, and the angel department's fallen void. Basically, every time you clear a level, you will lose 1 or 2 arms. But compared to the 9th layer, this is still a small loss. Because what he encountered on the 9th floor was a plant-type monster, a large piece of twisted plants with abnormal attributes. Not only does it have a wide range of attacks, but it also has strong healing abilities. Most importantly, these monsters have no blood. It is impossible for Qingting to exert his full strength. In this way, he and his plant legion consumed each other in the space inside the tower, and they fought for more than half an hour. Finally, they were taken away by the outbreak of the savage roar of Qinggang. And Lin Yu also lost 5 proliferating bodies, not even the symbiotic moss on his body. Made him feel bad for a while. But the good news is, after clearing the 9th floor, a long-awaited voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Congratulations! The flame shooter cannon meets the requirements for upgrading to the 8th order, and the upgrade needs to consume 10 7th order territory essence. Do you want to upgrade? Finally full. Hearing this prompt, Lin Yu let out a long sigh. Along the way, he has deeply felt the horror of the Tower of Sin. Being able to raise the cannon to tier 8 before the last level is undoubtedly a great help for him to clear this secret realm. Without hesitation, answer directly, upgrade. Next second, the body of the cannon was wrapped in a piece of light and grew rapidly. Name, Burst Shooter Cannon, Royal Family. Race, Plant, Hero. Level 8, 0/5000. Strength, 2400, plus 900. Physique, 1810, plus 1000. Agility, 1510, plus 1000. Spirit, 2500, plus 900. Skills, Infatuated with Fire, Burst of Peas. The number of peas shot at a time is increased to 2, Piercing Yang with 100 steps, Deadly Sniper. Precision Strike, accurately target any enemy within the range and strike its weak point. Introduction, a mutated pea with extremely terrifying long-range strike ability. When the level reaches a certain level, it can take the head of the enemy thousands of miles away. A small improvement in the 1st order, a big improvement in the 3rd order. Lin Yu has basically figured out the rules for strengthening arms at this time. But even so, after being upgraded to the 8th rank, the attributes of the cannon are still very abnormal. A full strength attribute of 3,300 points represents its extremely tyrannical basic attack strength, which is the power of shooting peas normally. And the spirit of up to 3,400 points directly affects the power of the skill, and based on this, the bonus is added. Counting a series of auras and skill buffs, its deadly sniping can even hit more than 10,000 points of power under the full burst. It can be said to be extremely terrifying. Certainly, this does not mean that troops or monsters with 10,000 physique points can be instantly eliminated in seconds. Because the higher the physique, the more damage it can offset. It can only be said that it can break the defense below 10,000 physique. Want to kill? It is necessary to break through the defense and at the same time deal an effective blow to its weakness, in order to achieve a one-hit kill. Just like the undead lord of the true spirit world before, he avoided the key points by relying on his extraordinary reaction and the blocking of treasures. Or it has a strong defense-enhancing skill, which can effectively evade the sniping of the artillery. This has to be guarded against. After all, the deadly sniping of the cannon took about half a minute to recover. This half a minute is enough for a lot of things to happen. There is one last level. It should be the final boss soon, right? Lin You murmured and couldn't help looking at the teleportation formation in the distance. Different from the previous teleportation array in Jiuguan, this teleportation array is actually golden, and it is not simple at a glance. And now that he has passed through the 9 gates, in the end, only the humanoid system has not been seen. In other words, the boss of this last level is likely to be a humanoid type. Thinking of this, Lin You took a deep breath. Glancing at the plants that had already recovered, he raised his footsteps, walked slowly into the teleportation formation, and disappeared. At the same time, inside the other 2 secret spaces, Yan Lai and Situ Jian just happened to clear the 9th floor at this time and came to the teleportation formation leading to the last level. Just different from Lin You. One of them was left with the angel system and the other was left with the element system. It seems that the order of monsters that everyone encounters when entering the Tower of Sin, and even the final boss, is different. Swish! Light flashed. When Lin You stood still again had appeared on a wide platform. The platform is majestic and solemn, with 4 vermilion dragon columns standing vertically on the edge, supporting the top of the tower, like a martial arts arena. This change surprised Lin You. The top of the tower is much smaller than he expected. Although it is still grand, it is far from what he imagined, and even the decorations are pitiful. But he didn't care too much about it, because he suddenly discovered that a person was sitting cross-legged on the marble floor opposite the platform. A man wearing dark gold armor and holding a spear. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.